A legal earthquake has just shaken Washington. In a stunning decision, judges have struck down Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs, declaring them illegal. But the sound of the gavel hasn't ended the fight. It may have just started an even bigger war. What happens next could reshape the very balance of presidential power in America. It's being called a constitutional blowout, a courtroom showdown that has sent shockwaves through the political world. On August 29, 2025, the U.S. Court of Appeals dropped a bombshell ruling. By a 7-4 decision, the court declared that Trump's use of the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act, known as IEEPA, simply went too far. This Cold War-era law was designed for targeted sanctions and emergencies. Presidents from Reagan to Obama used it cautiously. Reagan for sanctions, Obama for cybersecurity threats. But never had it been stretched as far as Trump tried to stretch it. Instead of using it like a scalpel, he wielded it like a sledgehammer, reshaping America's global trade posture almost single-handedly. Small businesses in 12 U.S. states pushed back, filing the case VOS Selections, Inc. v. Trump. They argued that the tariffs weren't just bad economics, they were unconstitutional. The Court of International Trade agreed, ruling that the president cannot bypass Congress to impose massive tariffs under IEEPA. Now, the Federal Circuit has upheld that ruling, sending a thunderclap through the White House. For decades, the boundaries of presidential power in economic policy have been murky. Rarely has a president been checked this directly. But now the courts are saying enough is enough. Unchecked tariff authority, the judges stressed, would rip apart the constitutional separation of powers. The message is clear. The president cannot unilaterally redraw the map of global trade. Trump, never one to back down, responded with fury. He blasted the ruling as catastrophic, warning that if tariffs are lifted, America could face a $15 trillion pullback in investment and spiral into what he called a third world nation. To his critics, these warnings sound like political theater. To his supporters, they ring like a rallying cry. And here's where things get even more complicated. The American public is deeply divided. A brand new CNN poll shows nearly 60% of Americans oppose the tariffs, blaming them for higher prices on everything from groceries to electronics. For everyday people struggling with bills, the connection feels obvious. Tariffs mean rising costs. Yet within Trump's loyal base, the story is completely different. They see tariffs as a patriotic shield, a necessary defense against unfair trade practices. That divide sets the stage for not just a legal fight, but a political one that could dominate the months ahead. Markets are already jittery. Reports show public opposition growing, with 3/4 of Americans saying tariffs have driven prices higher. At the same time, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is scrambling for backup plans. Some in Trump's circle are eyeing century-old tools like the 1930 Smoot-Hawley Act, a law infamous for deepening the Great Depression. Others whisper about invoking the fentanyl crisis to justify new national emergency powers. In other words, the administration is hunting for legal loopholes to keep tariffs alive. But the clock is ticking. While the tariffs technically remain in place for now, they face an October 14th deadline. By then, the Supreme Court may have to decide. Does the president have the power to impose sweeping tariffs without Congress or not? This isn't just about trade policy anymore. It's about the Constitution itself. And make no mistake, the consequences ripple far beyond America's shores. These tariffs disrupted supply chains worldwide, from European factories to Asian ports. Global markets are holding their breath to see what the U.S. Supreme Court will do. If the ruling stands, supply chains will reset, trade flows will shift, and the White House will have been cut down to size. If it's overturned, Trump's trade war will come roaring back, stronger than ever. Experts are already weighing in. Jeffrey Schwab, senior counsel at the Liberty Justice Center and a key figure in the case, says this ruling doesn't just check presidential overreach, it could redraw the boundaries of executive power itself. On the other side, Trump allies like Peter Navarro warn that the decision endangers America's economic security.
This case is arguably the single most important economic case that has ever come before the Supreme Court. If the lower court's ruling is upheld, President Trump has correctly said that will be the end of the United States.
Both sides agree on one thing. The stakes are enormous. Around the world, alarms are ringing. Stock markets spiral, trade ministers recalculate, and diplomats quietly panic behind closed doors. Will global alliances hold steady under the pressure, or will they fracture as nations scramble to adapt? What began as a fight over tariffs may reshape international relations for years to come. The countdown to October 14th is ticking, and Washington stands on edge. If the courts hold, it could redefine presidential power. If Trump wins at the Supreme Court, the trade war reignites. At stake is more than tariffs. It's law versus politics, courts versus the presidency. The outcome will shape America's economy, the Constitution, and global alliances for years to come. The world is watching, because what happens next could change everything.